congrats on the movie. I watched it yesterday, thoroughly enjoyed this one. You've worked with Jackie Chan before. I am a huge Jackie Chan fan. I'm curious, do you have a favorite Jackie Chan movie and a favorite Jackie Chan stunt?
Well, my favorite movie is Drunken Master, I think is probably the classic, which was a brilliant film at the time. And he was absolutely brilliant in it. And all his stuff in that is mind-blowing. There's another one I can't remember the name of, but it was all in one shot, and he did the most incredible stuff. You know, the usual Jackie Chan stuff, sort of, with ladders and all the way he works on tablecloths and you name it. Whatever props at hand, he somehow inventively kind of uses those things. But at one point, he has to kick a cell phone off the floor and hit a guy right between the eyes. There's no cuts with this. And he told me they went to about 150 takes on this one shot to get it to get it perfect. So, and it's a marvelous sequence. So that's probably the best piece of action I saw.
Yeah, he is amazing. I like the way that you do action. It's very realistic and grounded, and it's not a CGI mess, just being blunt. Can you sort of talk about, and I know you plan your action very carefully, can you sort of talk about some of the things that you did for this film, some of the action, the way you crafted these sequences?
Well, first of all, you rely on you rely on a very good stunt arranger, and the fight, say, between Maggie and Michael was all choreographed as foreplay, if you see what I mean. That was the whole idea of that sequence. But, I'm a great believer in the action, letting the audience see the action, not just the whole thing being cut every 1.5 seconds and noises off and blurs and this, that you don't see any geography at all. I'm not I don't like that. I really don't. I think if you do the action, you've got to see, the audience has to see the action, cause and effect. And also, the action should be based on character. That's the other thing. I think you have to base it on the character. You can't, action for action's sake is to me, can get very boring, but it has to be related to the characters somehow.
I completely agree. I loved the scene between Michael and Maggie at the restaurant. It's such a fun bit of dialogue, and their acting and the way it's shot. Can you sort of talk about putting together that scene?
Well, yeah. I mean, look, Richard Wenk wrote some great dialogue. He's very good at that, and it's got touches of Cary Grant about the whole thing. It's a sort of sense of mischief, but these two are very competitive, and that kind of that dialogue is two people kind of sword fighting almost. You know what I mean? They're kind of and the dialogue sort of crackles along between them, and it creates this kind of chemistry between them, and the whole competitive the competitive attitude between them both. So and that's just in terms of rehearsing and shooting is, that's what we ended up with.
You've made a lot of movies. I'm curious, which of your films do you think changed the most in the editing room as a result of whatever reason?
Probably Green Lantern, because undoubtedly because it was a studio picture and they re-edited the beginning of it, and there were other things as well that they buggered about with. So that's probably the one I think that otherwise I've pretty much had just about all my movies are my cut.
I am out of time. I'm just going to say a pleasure to talk with you. Congrats on this movie. I wish you nothing but the best.
Thanks very much indeed.